In today's episode, we have a very special guest with us today. Somebody I've been waiting and trying to get onto this channel for quite some time now, maybe 2 to 3 years. My wife. I'm very honored to have her on, and we are going to explore multiple topics. We're going to talk about investing before we met, after we met, her perception of investing, the way I invest by going all into companies. We're, of course, going to talk about Tesla. We'll touch FSD, Robo Taxi, the upcoming shareholder meeting, the reincorporation of Tesla to Texas vote as well. We're going to talk about all sorts of topics. And more importantly, this is her first time joining us in the channel, and I'm introducing someone very special, my wife, to all of you. So please take this time to appreciate the vulnerability it takes. I want to thank my wife so much for jumping on. I know that this is not the easiest thing to do, to put yourself out there. But as we discuss in this episode, it's not the critic who counts, but in this case, the woman in the arena. I love you. Thank you for doing this. And I hope you all enjoy. Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into it. What was your hesitation about coming on and doing YouTube?
I think I'm a little bit more private than you are. Not everybody has access to me, and I like it that way.
I barely have access to you.
It's a gift, truly. Okay, I need another sip of wine.
Do you think it's I mean, I've been doing YouTube for, I guess, on or off for like 3 to 4 years. Is it like normalized to you now, or is it still weird?
It's normalized for me to have you on and for me to do things behind the scenes like make your thumbnails, but it certainly doesn't feel normal for me to be on.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think this must have been 2021 when I started this. Like, I don't know if you remember how it happened, but it was the first day, or you were in Boston and you had gotten back, and I was like, you're like, you walk in the front door, and then you walk into my office, and you were like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey," you're like, "What you been up to?" And I was like, "I started a YouTube channel," and you're like, "Okay."
I was like, so you really missed me? You had that was what you did while I was gone, which is great.
Yeah, but you dove right in, started doing thumbnails and changing the aesthetic of my page and all that.
I tend to like to edit things.
Yeah, I've noticed.
So we took all of your skill and talent and then my aesthetic, and here we are.
I wouldn't say there's any skill or talent on that first one. I listened back to it maybe like a month ago, and it was painful to listen to.
Well, doing
It
something
was
new and out of your comfort zone alone is a skill and a talent. That's not something. Could you imagine me saying I started a YouTube channel while you were traveling?
Yeah, but I could see you doing it. I could see you having like your own like little YouTube channel about design and maybe like just critiquing other people's like or where they made mess ups, like what they could have done certain things to be more elevated or timeless. I could see that. Did you think like, oh, this is gonna fade out? This won't last, or
Well, you've talked about it for a while, actually. You always, especially with like investing or Tesla, and before that, it was the company before, and you get really passionate about things, and you tend to speak about them long format, kind of. Maybe it falls deaf on my ear sometimes because I'm not as fully engaged. And so when you're speaking into YouTube and you've got all these people who are also super interested, they're engaging in ways that, I mean, I certainly engage with you about it, but I have different things to say in my own perspective versus somebody who's also looking at the data and the numbers like you look at,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's fair. But you that's a very polite way of saying I get. You said, what would you say? I get really or into. What was the word
Passionate
you used?
with long
Passionate. Yeah,
format dialogue.
yeah. Oh, I was gonna say that's a very nice way of you saying obsessive.
Well, no, it's good to be passionate about things. Life without being passionate about things, it's a
Let's
little
say.
bit dull. Something has to get you excited.
Yeah, I think the ones on vacation are tend to be like my favorite time to do them because it's
Yeah.
like, Like, look what we're doing. Or not even just vacation, right? Because like anytime we're traveling anywhere, right? I wouldn't. A lot of our trips, I don't consider them vacations. Sometimes they're like, I don't know. Like I
Just
don't consider
traveling.
when we go to Boston, yeah, Boston or New York, California. I don't see any of that as like
Yeah.
vacation.
There's vacationers and there's travelers. I'd say we're probably the latter. But what's
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
about
yeah.
it is you can look back and it's kind of like a timestamp of that time in your life. So I even look back to when you have long hair and I'm like, so cute. I think we
You know,
were
I've been thinking
YouTubing
about
when you
growing
had
it
long
out.
hair.
Oh
It's
yeah,
looking
of
good
course we
right
were.
now. Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks good
I've been
right
thinking
now.
about growing it out again. Just I don't know, like again these phases, but
Yeah,
I kind of miss it. It's so much work though, so much maintenance. Like, people don't like they don't tell you. I mean, unless you have like hair like Tucker, like it's just like
he's
and that's just
natural
bullshit.
flow. Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's just bullshit. It's not even Megan says that. It's like this isn't
he's
fair.
got he's got a great head of hair.
Yeah, he does. It's ridiculous. And he doesn't do anything. He doesn't condition any. It's for
Yeah.
me gray head of hair. But yeah, I miss the hair.
You
But
know, a lot of people say you have a great head of hair.
yeah, not like Tucker. That's not Tucker hair.
Not like Tucker.
I know.
Yeah.
He's gonna hear this and be like, ah, I didn't realize that he liked my hair so much. Or actually, he's gonna be like, thanks, man.
No, he
I don't know.
knows. He
Yeah, he
knows
knows.
that it's a gift. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when he does this every time, constantly pushing it back. Ugh, so nice. So, with regards to like before we met, I'm curious. Like, we've actually never talked about this, but before we met, what was your lookout when it comes to investing in general? I imagine, like, from when we met and over the years that we've been together, like your thought perspective has evolved. But like just going way back to before there's ever me in the picture, and you're just in Boston, grinding away, riding the subway, living your uh, what's her name, Carrie,
I was not on
Carrie
Carrie
Bradshaw.
Bradshaw. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like Carrie
Like running
Bradshaw of
around in
Boston.
heels. Yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on investing back then? Or did you like was it not top of mind?
I was interested in money. I was maxing out my 401k. That was important to me. I had student loans and I was knocking those out as fast as I could. Outside of my 401k, I'd say I was like saving more than investing because I didn't have a brokerage account at the time. I was just, fresh out of school. Here are your loans. Here's what you make. Oh, your company matches you on your 401k if you do this. Well, that's a no-brainer. Obviously do that. And that was pretty much it, like, fresh out of school.
Did you know what a brokerage account was back then? I would
Like,
imagine most people don't. Like if you're not
very
in,
yeah, my knowledge of investing was very surface level. Like, I would actually go out on a limb and say, like, most people have no idea how it works. Like, I understood my
yeah,
401k because I actually took a meeting with someone who explained to me how it worked because I wanted to know how it worked, but I don't think that information is just given to you unless you seek it out, unless you're like curious about it. I would say there's definitely people today like who are our age, like 10 years out of school who still don't invest or know understand a brokerage account. But
yeah,
I mean, you helped me open my brokerage account, and then I
yeah.
started getting interested in it and excited about it when I started seeing things grow.
Do you remember what your first investment was?
It was COVID, and everyone was going to be spending more time at home. So, through the lens of a designer, I was like, well, people are going to be working from home. They're going to spend time at their home office. They're going to need to have multi-purpose spaces. They're going to notice all the shit they hate about their house right now because they're going to be in it 24/7 and they're going to want to do projects. Um, so I wanted to buy RH because I could see the potential of everyone wanting to renovate, furniture shop, whatever. Um, and it turned out to be a really good move, if you remember, like an
I would
insanely good
say,
move.
yeah, I would say it's more than a good move. I mean, here, take a look at this. So right here, this was like right when the pandemic hit. This is when we bought, and we literally rode it all the way up, and we didn't sell at the top. I think we sold at like 550, and that's when I told you to keep one share as like a I
Yeah.
don't know, a keepsake, like just to remember your first investment. And since then,
Oh, yeah,
it's
I know.
come back down, but
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 that
yeah,
jump, that was, yeah, that's pretty sweet.
that was massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good experience for your first investment, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. And then I
Yeah.
I think we bought a bunch of Tesla at that time too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's when we so I was already buying Tesla, if you remember before that. I actually been buying Tesla for a while, but that's when I started to get like just even more excited. And I think like it was like 2021 where I was trying to get you to sell your RH to buy Tesla, but you kept saying, "No way. Look how
When
much
did it
I'm up."
crash? When did it crash again? 2020
Sometime in 2022. Or you talking about Tesla or are you talking about Restoration Hardware?
RH. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, trying to see figure out if you saved me. I think ultimately, yeah, you saved me from that crash.
I just took you into a different crash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But we rode a
So,
high before that crash.
oh yeah. Besides your 401k, you're investing outside of like a retirement fund or work
Yeah.
was with me, right? Us as a couple. Like at that point, we'd been together for a couple of years. I've always had I mean, hell, it's the name of this channel, Investing Against the Grain, right? I've always had a different perspective on how to invest. When you met me, I was pretty heavy invested into another company, and that wasn't really panning out the way I thought it would. But you weren't with me with my other two kind of all investments, which was Apple and Amazon. So you never saw like those, right? Actually, you saw some
I
of it.
heard you talk about it.
Yeah, when we met, yeah.
Yeah.
We were in Greece is how we met. We were both island hopping, and
Have you told this story on here before?
I haven't.
Huh?
I haven't. But we were all out dinner. It was like her group of friends and me and my buddy who were island hopping. We're out dinner. It was a really good day for the stock market. And
I
so
remember this. Yeah. You kept
yeah,
looking at your phone and you were like giddy. I was like, what is this
yeah.
dude's
To
deal?
s- to say the
What's
least, I was giddy. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so those I guess the only other big run up that that I've had since we've been together was that kind of 2019, 2020, 2021 with Tesla,
Mhm.
right? I mean, same thing, giddy. Like you remember me running up to your office every day. In
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
I remember I was watching Yashu. I'm sitting there, we're watching it break $1,000 together. I've told Yashu about that a few times, but this whole idea of investing kind of all in into something is so counterintuitive to what everybody thinks or does or believes in. Um, even with like real estate, like you see how passionate I am about investing in St. Petersburg when it comes to real estate, and I think you've come to love the city as well. But what were your thoughts of that? Like, do you think I was crazy? Do you think I'm crazy now? Do you think like what's your perception on all that?
I definitely don't think you're crazy now. I don't know if I don't know if I understood enough to like truly have an opinion previously.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it makes perfect sense. And well, there's also investing in the stock market, right? And then
Yeah,
and you're not diversifying there necessarily. However, your greater portfolio is more than just that. Like you mentioned, it's real estate and, we both still work. So if something were to happen, it's truly not the end of the world. It's just, but I mean, that the philosophy itself, I would say, aligns with a certain way of thinking that we both have, probably along the lines of essentialism. Well, you
I've never
remember
heard
me
you
reading,
describe it this way.
really? Well, you
Yeah,
remember me reading the book Essentialism?
recently,
Essentialists, uh, it's probably about a year ago.
a year
I
ago.
read it, yeah.
Yeah,
Essentialists believe almost nothing is essential, and non-essentialists believe everything is essential. So non-essentialists basically diversify everything that they do, right? They take on too much. Their plate is filled with tons of stuff, and they're not really doing a good job at any of it because they've got too much on their plate.
Mm,
Essentialists who think that maybe one thing is important, instead of doing 12 things in their day, they'll do 2 things and do a really, really good job at it. It's
mm.
minimalism for your brain.
Wow, that's a very interesting way to think about it.
Quality over quantity, but for your brain. And that
Yeah.
translates into everything I do. And I would say also that's an us thing. We're both minimalists, essentialists, but it's interesting to see how that translates and is a direct bridge to our portfolios.
Wow, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, because the way I kinda came into this way of, like, all investing, I mean, there's a lot of different things, you know, like, a few Warren Buffett books, right? I mean, I think my first episode started off with a Warren Buffett quote, and Charlie Munger, rest in peace, um, but they were saying that diversification is a hedge against ignorance.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like, you know, if you don't wanna take the time, do the research, whatever, then, yeah, go into S&P 500, be diversified, and it's a hedge against ignorance. But when I went my first investment ever was all into Apple, and obviously I rode that for many years, and then, um, I went and I tried to find, "Oh, what's the next Apple?" You know, and so I've invested into BlackBerry, into Motorola, right, and, you know, not I didn't sell my Apple at that point yet, but I was, you know, trying to find the next one. And I was like thinking, okay, well, I got to find these other companies to find my next Apple. And then I discovered Amazon as a, you know, a bigger investment with AWS and all that. And that was like around 2014, 2013. It was 2013. It was right when I got out of college. And so I essentially got into Amazon, and then I started dumping everything into Amazon, and I sat in Amazon for a while. It's kind of the way Tesla played out, right? I started selling everything came to Tesla. Well, that's what happened to Amazon. And so then come, I guess like 2016, 2017, you know, kind of like right around the time we met, that's when you know, I started moving into another company, Tanix, thinking, okay, well, this could be the next big thing. And I wasn't, you know, at the same time, like I was always like trying to find these next big companies or the next thing that could happen. And rather than just understanding, to your point, sometimes the one you're in, you just got to, sometimes staying in what you're in is doing something. I was trying to find the next thing, the next company, right? I was thinking I had to have 3, 4, 5, 6 different companies I'm invested in, instead of understanding like sometimes just being here is making a decision. You don't always have to find the next one. And you hear people frequently say Tesla is the next Tesla,
Yeah.
as far as an investment, but it took me really up until investing in Tesla to really start to hone in on where I've been most successful is when I've stayed in these companies that I truly believe in. You know, I didn't really believe in BlackBerry. I didn't really believe in Motorola. I was just trying to find the next company. So, but that kind of aligns with what you're saying.
So, yeah, I would say with the exception of Apple and Amazon, those companies weren't necessarily revolutionary.
Well, they were when I invested in them. Like, keep in mind, when I invested in Apple, there was no iPhone yet,
Well, no, I'm
right?
saying
And
Apple and Amazon were revolutionary.
oh
The
yeah, yeah,
others
yeah,
you're mentioning, maybe
true.
they had the potential, but it didn't turn out, and it's fail quick, what we always say, you
Yeah.
know? If you don't have long-term promise, fail quick and move. But I think the difference is with Tesla right now, we believe that there's very long-term promise. So yeah, hold.
Yeah, Nutanix is the one that I really thought that they could have been big, but I feel like they just dropped a couple balls, and then you know the, so, you know what is another trend I'm just now realizing, all the companies I've done the best in still have their founder as a CEO.
Yeah.
So Apple did, Amazon did, Nutanix did at the time, D-Raj, and then D-Raj left while I was working there, right, 2 years in, and it just, I mean, don't get me wrong, the stock's doing decent now, I guess, at $50 a share, but still. And then Tesla now.
I
But
wouldn't
that's another.
say your interest in Nutanix was a loss either, though. Like if you think about, The Alchemist and following the signs, that was meant to be in your life for other reasons and certainly played out that way. I mean, it led you
Oh,
to a lot of other things.
God. You see why she's the best wife? Look at that. It's
It
true, it's true. I mean, it
it's
got me from mechanical, electrical engineering in the oil field, ships, and all that into the tech world, right? Into
yeah.
software engineering. Yeah,
It was an entire lifestyle change, and it all sparked because your initial interest in the stock changed both of our lives really drastically. I don't want to speak in code, but I also don't know like how much we share about our personal life. But it's like if it was interesting to you, follow what's kind of what you're curious about, and it's likely supposed to be there for a reason, whether it's to make you multi-millions through the stock market or to untap a different type of potential inside of you just by digging deeper. I don't know. That's
yeah.
what I think.
Well, if it wasn't for that persistence and following that passion, I wouldn't have followed you across islands in Greece.
Yeah, that's also true.
You and I every morning we pretty much have a routine before we go to the gym where we wake up, we have our coffee, and we watch Squawk Box. Right? We start our every morning off with Joe, Andrew, and Becky.
Yep.
Shout out to Becky Quick if she ever watches this. Anna loves you.
I love Becky and Joe. I can't just leave out Andrew. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know, they're
Um,
I love them.
Yeah. But so again, we don't ever talk about this specifically. We have it on, we're both watching it, but I don't ever know like what kind of things you're actually taking in or what you're kind of ignoring on your phone or I
Mhm.
mean, you have this ability to listen and do other things at the same time, which I can't. I would actually say most people can't. I think it's a very unique skill that you have. It's like it's funny because you say you hate listen having two sounds on at the same time, yeah, it seems like you can have 2 sounds on at the same time and listen to both at the same time.
Well, that's why I hate having them on because I can't help but listen to both, and it's
Yeah.
exhausting.
But so with that said, a lot of the talk is about, the economy and inflation right now and everything. And, it's been, at least as Tesla investors, but just in general, it's been a rough, couple of years. What's your current take on like the economy and inflation? Like whether it's like stuff at the store or food or what, I mean, just what's your take on all that? What's Anna's perspective?
I'll tell you what I'm noticing. I notice that the grocery bill is higher. Can't comment on gas. But no, I noticed like obviously I noticed eggs are expensive. Fruit is insanely expensive. Going out to eat, like tip culture is
Tell me more about
insanity.
that.
Tip culture is insanity. Like doing the bare minimum is expectation. 20% tip is now the least amount of tip on the three options. It'll be like 20, 25, 30, and it'll be some kid who's like so rude doing the absolute bare minimum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I as you know, I've been doing some Uber Eats lately. Uh, but what I've noticed is they're kind of gamifying the tips. So it's not like they sit there and say like 15, 20, 25. Instead, they'll do like 13, 17, 23. Like they'll pick these like random numbers.
Right,
And I
versus
think
a
it's this.
percentage or
Yeah, but it's like if you were gonna do 15, well, I won't give you that option. Maybe 13 and 17 because 13 might be like, all right, that's a little low. 17 is the only other option here, so I'll just do that. And so you tip a little more.
right,
Like it's interesting.
because it's more work to type in custom tip
Yeah.
and then to do the math, and so if you're in a rush and there's a line behind you, you're just like, "Whatever." But I noticed specifically on things like coffee, instead of doing like a 20% tip, it'll have like cash options instead. It'll be like $2, $3, $5.
Ah,
And it's like, okay, I'm getting a $2, well, probably not anymore. It's probably more like I don't remember how much coffee is, but it's probably like a five
five,
dollar
$6.
five
Yeah.
dollar cup of coffee. And then you see $2 and you're like, oh, it's just $2. But no, that's like almost a 50% tip for this person who just did the bare minimum because it's all a mind game.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't think I've noticed that. I think it's because if we get coffee out, I guess unless you're traveling for work, but if we get coffee out together, normally you go inside to like Karma or something, you do the order. Yes, I don't think I've noticed that. That's interesting. Yeah, tip culture's gotten a little out of hand. It's And the service, to be frank, like, now, I will say, like, we just had a waitress at, Ceviche, and I thought she did a pretty
She was
good
great.
job.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't, like, the, like, five-star type waitress, but, like, I liked her. Like, she
Eye
did a good job.
contact, personable, cared,
No
talked to us
bullshit.
about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like, she didn't just try to, like, remember, like, I was asking, like, what's you know, it was, what was it? It was, picanha it said picanha skirt steak, and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense to me." And she's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Oh, I really appreciate you saying you don't know, and not just trying to feed me a line." But then we also had that waiter at 42,
Oh, he was
best restaurant, St.
fantastic.
Pete right
Yeah.
now. Fantastic, right? The
Right.
first time with your parents. Fantastic. But I would say, like, a lot like, if we go, like, to Chipotle, or if we go, I don't know, just, like, in general, like, the not expensive
Chipotle is
restaurants.
the absolute worst with the
Yeah.
attitude, truly.
Right?
And the attitude, I'm just
It's
trying to get
insane.
a burrito. Did I offend you? But
Yeah.
this, my point is that person who at 42, he deserves a better tip than the bare minimum person
Yeah.
who's, working next to him. And if it's an entitlement thing and I deserve this just for being here, then what's the point of making it a tip? Just bake it into their salary and or their compensation and bake it into the prices
Yeah.
and let it be an even thing. Don't like pretend like it's a participation award where it's like, "Oh, you did a good job just by showing up. Here you go." And it's like you're all special. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
ranting now, but still, it
No, but it's funny you say that, 'cause something I've been struggling with is what I want to get to is, you and I were listening to a segment about tip culture with PBD, Peter
yeah.
Beth David. And, he was talking about, like, he tries to over tip on
Yeah.
excellent service and under tip on bad service. And I've really been trying to adopt that, to kind of under tip bad service, but it's so hard.
It's hard.
It's insane to, like, I'm a person who normally doesn't, give a F about anything with, like, stuff like that. Like, I'll be like,
You are. You are.
you know me, I'm
More
very
so than me.
blunt. Yeah, but sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, ugh, like, I just start feeling, like, guilty. I'm like, you know what? I don't know this person's day. Maybe they just lost someone. Maybe they just, I don't know, something happened with their kid, or they just had a flat tire and they can't afford it. Like, I just start going to these, like, things. I'm like, what's the big deal for me?
I know. And it's easy to give someone who's done an excellent job an extra good tip because you also leave feeling great about yourself. You're like, I
Yeah,
just made that person's day.
yeah,
I gave them 100% tip on this meal that they did an excellent job at, and you feel good. If someone underperforms and then you feel guilty about not giving them, a 20% tip, then you kind of leave feeling like icky inside.
yeah. And you don't know what happened. Like, maybe it was nothing. Maybe they were just a bad performer, but maybe
Yeah.
there was something that led to that, and that's the person that actually needs to tip more than anybody. And that's where my mind goes. And I know I'm probably being overly empathetic in saying that, and that's probably not the norm. But if it's the norm once, it's like, man, is it worth just tipping more in general? Like, I don't know. I just get into these kind of. I also selfishly don't want the universe to come and screw me over because I was trying to teach someone a lesson, or trying to, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's freaking hard. But tip culture in general, just to kind of zoom back out, has gotten just insane. It's funny you talk about inflation at the grocery store and stuff. I've actually said recently that I kind of think that it's moderated out. In fact, I think our grocery bills have kind of been coming down lately,
Yeah.
but it's hard to tell because we've also, kind of ratcheted up the eating clean. So I don't know if that's it or what.
We've been eating simpler. So I would say like whole foods, fewer ingredients, more seasoning. And that probably simplifies our grocery bill and has a ripple effect. But even today, when we checked out at Trader Joe's, we got 12 boxes of Nespresso pods.
Yeah.
that was incredible. And like, I couldn't believe how low that was. That hadn't happened in a while.
In general, how are you feeling with the economy? Do you feel maybe we're somewhat insulated compared to a lot of
Yeah.
people? Like, I feel who was I talking to? It maybe it was Farzad recently. I forget, but I was saying, it's the economy's not great. I don't think, but not great for us is like okay, we have to pay a little more here, a little more there. It's an inconvenience. It's not changed our life. We're not
Right.
doing stuff. I mean, we might choose to get a different brand just because we're frugal or you're frugal. I'm a cheap bastard, uh, but we're not changing our lives. We're not doing things because something costs a certain way or a certain amount. If anything, the reason we don't do something or spend money on something is because we just want to throw it into the stock market.
Right. Well, okay. I have two thoughts here. One on inflation and one on the general economy and our philosophy. So inflation, I would actually argue where I see it most is at work and construction costs.
Oh,
Because I mean,
okay.
you and we're not like I wouldn't classify myself as your standard American consumer. We're minimalists and quality over quantity. And so if I'm making a purchase, it's likely an expensive purchase, but they're few and far between because I'd rather have one really nice thing than 12 not so nice things. And that's just how I've always operated. It's how you
Mm,
operate. And I think that's probably just like a more European way of doing things. And that's just how I was raised. But so I'm not constantly shopping enough to actually see that difference and notice it and feel it outside of, say, the grocery store or maybe getting my hair done. But where I see it at work with inflation is construction costs and actually furniture costs. So like I'll see that steel has gone up. Like so if I have actually during COVID when I was planning out 2 years ahead doing construction allowances for my projects, I was actually putting a 12% contingency for inflation, which is huge. 12%.
that's a
And
lot.
you know what? It's like kind of panned out because my projects kept getting like delayed and delayed and delayed. And usually, I think what we hold is somewhere between like 6 and 7% annually, and it was doubled because of well, and then there's lead times and getting things from if you're getting something that's domestic or international, but your lead times are going up. And then if you want it there by a certain time, like that kind of plays into the cost. But just in general, like that high demand for material was things were just skyrocketed. So I see it at work more than I see it at home.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because we don't.
We're
I
not
mean, we're
out
not big
shopping.
spenders.
We're not going
Yeah,
out. Like we'll go out to dinner usually at like we have if there's a new cool restaurant downtown that's really nice, we'll go out to a nice dinner and we'll anticipate it being expensive because we're not going to fast food every
yeah,
week or whatever or ordering pizza once a week. We're intentionally going out to an expensive dinner with the expectation that it's going to be expensive every few weeks.
yeah. No, that's a good point. So, are you still doing a 12%
No.
contingency?
No. If someone were to ask me to do that today, I definitely wouldn't hold 12 because I'd say that things have slowed down a bit in terms of, at least what everyone said during COVID was this is uncertain times. So our
Yeah,
contingency was just like a crazy number that happened to be the allowance that I set myself that I planned up to and ended up spending.
hmm,
But today, no, I wouldn't do 12. I can't give you a certain number. I'd probably do some Googling first and call up my reps and say, hey, what are you seeing and what are you anticipating? But
yeah.
it certainly wouldn't be 12, probably
Okay,
back to like
yeah.
7 or 8.
So I'm glad we took a break to get a little refill here. I've actually been leaning more. You know how I've been all about Black Manhattans for like the last couple of years.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like leaning into old fashions lately.
The OG.
I think it happened this last time in New York. I don't know. I started. I'm like I started craving an old fashioned. So I've been on an old fashioned kick ever since.
Well, now I want a sip of it. I feel like I just missed my window.
We'll see if we have any left.
I think the thing with
How's
a
that?
Manhattan, like I could probably only have one of those.
Old fashioned probably the same. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, they're both pretty much just bourbon.
My glass of wine, it's like the same. I'm still nursing really my first glass, but there's no rush. It's not a competition. I'm
Yeah.
just
Do,
enjoying it slowly.
do you like that one?
I actually didn't look to see what you got. I'm assuming it's a Cab Sauv.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it was rated 4, a 4.0. I'm just curious if it
It's
was as
a
good as, our other one we like.
it's really good actually. It's very smooth. And as our little sommelier would say, it's chuggable. A chuggable red. Um,
You
is it
talking
was
about the
it
guy
a
at
nap?
Cellar Master?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love when he describes wines as chuggable.
I doubt it feels like a Deepak wine.
No, it's a pretty full wine and it's smooth.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah,
I wasn't
you
sure. I'd
give a
never had it.
yeah. I'm not gonna kill the bottle, so have a glass after this. Maybe we'll exchange a sip for a sip.
Yeah. I don't like to
I
mix
know
anymore, but
you don't like to confuse your palate,
yes.
and that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean I get it.
You know what it is? It's I'm in a certain mood for something. And that's what I'm going for. Like when I'm in the mood for wine, like last 2 weeks I've been just in the mood for wine, red wine.
Yeah.
So I bought that whole case. I thought it was gonna last a month and it was gone in like a week and a half.
Yeah, we told ourselves it was going to last a month, but when at some point, you just have to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Why not have a glass of that wine that you bought a box of? And you
I
want
know.
another
I know.
one? Why not? No one's getting
You
hurt.
you know what? It's actually probably a good thing that I I restocked on everything to make old fashioned because next week we have the Tesla uh, investor meeting.
Yep, you're going to want one then.
And yeah, I think Farzad, Hans, and I are gonna do a live stream together for that. So it'll be good for that.
Yeah,
If I'm in the mood for an old fashioned.
right, if you're not, you can just go to the store. Since we've killed that box crate of bottles of wine, our liquor cabinet has been limited to bitters, vermouth, and then pretty much just that. Triple sec. Like everything else, everything worth drinking or having has been gone.
you, you know what that tells me? That while I was out for a work trip recently, you were looking for something.
Oh yeah, I was like, man, I would love a little cocktail, a little something. And I'm looking through our liquor cabinet and there's not there w- my option was like peppermint schnapps, which is what, good in
Yes.
a hot chocolate once a year? I
Yeah,
mean, really.
that was a horrible idea.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that was
what I think we
my
made a
fault.
special Christmas drink once.
It was me. I was trying to make something taste like Christmas, and it didn't work out. But lesson learned. I won't make
Yeah.
that mistake again. Speaking of the investor day and Tesla, let's I'm curious to get your take on Tesla, the company, the stock, and all that. You say passionate. I jokingly say obsession for myself, but as you know, every movement of Tesla or anything, I'm hyper aware of what's going on. I'm curious and it's funny because I never really think about this, but I'm curious what's your current understanding of Tesla and what's happening in Tesla right now? What's the latest drama of what's going on with Tesla? I'm curious, like how in tune you are with all that, or if it's one of those things where you're investing in it, but you're just such a long term investor that you don't really give two shits about day to day. Like it's just you don't bother with it too much. Whereas to me, it's like an obsession. Like, where are you at with all that?
You know when there's, like, kids in the house and there's also adults in the house, and the adults think that the kids have no idea what's going on, but really the kids are just listening? You
Okay.
are a constant cloud of YouTube Tesla information. Like, you're constantly, not even with your headphones in, walking around just streaming content about what is going on in the world of Tesla. And as you mentioned earlier, I can listen to like three things at once and do a task. And it's not even like a gift. I would say it's more of a curse because I can't help but hear all three of those things at once. And it's just like totally draining because I can't tune one out. I have to fully engage in all of them. Whatever that means about me, I don't know. But I probably know a lot more than you think just because I'm around you all day and you're constantly listening to the stuff that I'm absorbing.
Let's see. Do you know why the investor meeting so important next week?
Is this the one where they're announcing like the Robo Taxi?
No,
The new
it's
design
not.
of it. No, that's 8-8.
Oh, okay, very good. Yes. Now there's something
This
else.
one. Oh, well, I don't need to sit here and guess. I could make 100 guesses. Why don't you just
No,
tell me? I
I'm
was
just
gonna
curious
say
to
there's
see.
something like what I've been hearing from your cloud of content recently has been people have been talking again about Elon and um his compensation. Yes, and, like, there's
Yeah.
people who are like, "Oh, he'll never do it," and then he did it, and then he got at the payout, and they're like, "Well, we didn't think you were actually gonna hit your goals," and now they're upset that he's getting the rewards of his hard work, and they're saying that's too much money.
Yeah, so sort of. I mean, the topics are correct. So this is what happened. In 2018, we all voted on Elon to get a certain payout, assuming he hit certain milestones. Okay. And those milestones were, for example, the stock had a 10x, right?
They were
A
ambitious.
10x. Yes, they were impossible. Like Andrew back there's lots
Yeah,
of clips of Andrew saying like this is like anybody would take this. Like it's an impossible. Like he's never gonna hit this. It's
right.
impossible. Everybody was saying that.
The
And
naysayors,
so
it's almost like they were betting against him.
yeah, absolutely. But so what happened recently was about I guess 3 months ago. So Tesla's incorporated in Delaware. Most companies are incorporated in Delaware because they have such a big history of uh, corporation legal. I forget what the word is right now, but they have a precedence of a lot of legal examples, and they're known for being very company shareholder friendly. Well, what
Okay.
happened recently was a shareholder who had 9 shares, had a lawsuit against Elon saying that his compensation package was not fair and that the board of directors that are the ones that have to negotiate with Elon for his compensation, that they were not unbiased. And they were saying that because of that, his compensation package should be voided. And so this went to court and everything. And nobody really thought that this would get pulled away. But the same judge that forced Elon to buy Twitter after he was saying, no, this is bullshit. Like, you didn't disclose all these bots and you pretended they were users. That same judge forced Elon to buy Twitter is the one that rescinded Elon's pay package.
Hmm.
Mind you, this is about 3 months or so after President Biden said that well, we need to look into Elon Musk because Elon was, putting a lot of posts, tweets out there about, issues with Biden after Biden didn't invite him to the electric vehicle summit.
EV, yeah.
Anyways, what state is Joe Biden from? Delaware. That's his home state. This judge has ties back to Joe Biden. Anyways, that's all kind of like tinfoil hat, some people would say. But the main thing is Elon did the impossible with his pay package, hit it, and now they want to rescind it. And in the verdict, there's like a write up that the judge does. The first thing that she says is that this this is a unprecedented amount for any CEO of anything to get, and that she's essentially too much money for him. But at the same time, he did something that nobody thought was possible at a time when Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy, and we all voted on it. And
Right.
so one of the things that they're saying is that the board of directors were not impartial and that they did not negotiate enough with Elon. And so, for example, they're saying because his brother is on the board, that it wasn't impartial. Yet everybody knows that Kimball Musk is his brother. Everybody knows
Mhm.
he's on the board. He's been on the
Right.
board. It's not anyway. So what's happening now next week is we've all you've already voted for it, but we all Tesla's putting forth a vote to reinstate Elon's pay package. And the big thing about this is, let's say that the majority of voters don't vote for it. That might be a vote of no confidence in Elon. Elon might say, you know what, screw this. I'll just go and work more at SpaceX and XAI and Boring, all the other companies I have.
Well,
And
that's not
so,
gonna happen. Well, I mean, that's about as fair gets, a vote.
true, but
Also,
it shouldn't have to happen, right? Because we
it
already
shouldn't
voted on
have
it
to
once, and
happen. At risk of getting too political, it's clearly fabricated, and the fact that we're even giving this person with 9 shares a soapbox to stand on is so silly.
yeah, but that's what happens, right? Like anybody with one share has the same rights as somebody with 1,000 shares or 2 million shares. So I don't mind that part. The part that I mind is this judge being able to see. So when this vote happened, over 70% of shareholders voted in favor of it because the deal was Elon would have to 10x the company in order to get paid. If he didn't hit these impossible milestones, he would get $0. Like there wasn't even like a little like he'll get if he just at least gets this part, he still gets paid. There was none of that. Everything was impossible. And so since that pay package, Tesla's up over 1,000% since 2018. Right? It's insane. But the part that really I think bothers a lot of people is one, this judge is well, one, the 9 shares is like ridiculous, but two, this judge essentially saying that we, as the shareholders who voted on this overwhelmingly, that we had no real understanding of what we were doing. And most of us are saying, bullshit. We knew what we were doing. We knew what we were voting for. We were voting for him to do the impossible. And in return, we make a lot of money, as we did. But
Mhm.
so that's one of the things that's happening right now. It's that. So to reinstate it. And I'm pretty sure that, the majority of people, over 50%, will vote for it in favor of it again. But just because we vote for it doesn't mean that's it. That will just be a like ammo for them to go and appeal the judge's ruling to the higher court. So it's just a lot of drama with that. But the other big thing that this investor meeting is about is Tesla, because of this, is trying to move their incorporation from Delaware to Texas. That one's a lot harder. You know how like with our HOA meetings, with our townhouse property, that we have to have like a certain amount of people present so we can actually conduct the meeting. Well, that's how this vote for moving it from Delaware to Texas works. If they don't have a majority of shareholders vote on this, it doesn't matter if the voters voted yes, because we didn't have enough voters vote
Yeah,
yes or
understood.
vote or
Yeah, yeah.
participate.
There, you didn't have enough participants to make it an honest result.
Yeah, well, yeah, to qualify for the vote to even matter. Yeah,
Right.
to
Right.
be yeah.
Otherwise, it's skewed.
Yeah. But so that's what's happening next week. And so so those are two like really big deals. Um
Isn't it just insanity, though, that they can say, "Oh, uh, you disagree with us. You must have misunderstood the assignment." It's like Britney Spears' conservatorship is what it's like when she's like, "Hello, they've captured me," and they're like, "Oh no, no, you've just lost your mind. You
yeah.
just must not
No,
know."
it is.
It's so scary that they can play oh, like, we're so good to be concerned about you for not knowing that I'm gonna do you this favor. You disagree with me. You must just not understand because you're an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Like, oh, you guys didn't know all these things that weren't. It's like you don't know what we understood or didn't understand. You have no idea.
but to
We voted for it.
assume, to assume that you're the one. I, I mean, I could go off.
No, no worries. Let's zoom back out.
Zoom out.
So, so again, I'm obsessive. You're listening to a your what's the word I'm
You have a
looking for?
sound cloud around you
Yes, I have a SoundCloud around me.
that I'm
So,
reluctantly absorbing.
really, so if I were to ask you right now, do you know what the stock price of Tesla is?
No,
Would you know?
no,
Does that matter to you?
no. It's up one day, it's
Why
down the
does that?
next. Well, because I'm a long-term holder and I think the less that I look, the better, because that way I don't let these silly emotions of the day-to-day influence my long-term strategy. I care what's happening in the company? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I care that they're unveiling a Robo Taxi. I care that every day that I use FSD, it seems to be getting better. I care that the Cybertruck, when I see it around town, there's always a cloud of people around because it is like such a novelty to them and so exciting and something they've never seen before. That is what I need to see, and that is what I need to know that my long-term holding is going to pay off. If like Elon tweets something on the toilet and it rubs someone the wrong way and the stock goes down, really like
Yeah, you don't care.
I don't care. And I don't really need to like sit there and speculate about how that's going to affect my future. Like I think that we live in a world where people love to demonize each other and cancel each other and frankly just own each other on the internet. And I think Elon tends to be the person who they're trying to take down because, well, he's successful. He's everything that you guys probably want. Whoever hates him so much, I'm so sorry that you're so unhappy with yourself and so jealous of him that you need to do that. But I feel comfortable in my long-term stock, and I think that we're going to be sitting really pretty in the future.
Okay. So so you said a couple things there. You said FSD.
Yeah,
So there's this thing, as you know, called the wife test, right? You and I
yeah.
have watched Cindy and Farzad do it. We've watched a couple other people do it and get their perspectives. Talk to me about FSD. Like, talk to me not just about what you currently think about FSD, but like your evolution of FSD and your experience with it, like your point of view.
I use it every time I get in the car and I'm driving. For sure. I will never choose to drive versus use FSD. It simply won't happen for many reasons. Okay.
You know, just so you know, so many people have told me I'm full of shit and I'm making that up.
Really?
Yeah, people don't
That
believe me that
honestly,
that's your
like,
take.
that truly shocks me because there is like, I don't want to generalize, but the reality is, whoever you are, your wife never wants to drive. They want to be in the passenger seat. They're happy navigating the radio. They want you to drive, period. No wife is like, oh, let me go drive around my husband. That is like one of the benefits. You want to be the passenger princess. That's just how it is. You'd rather not drive. Um, but the reality is I go places alone. Like I go grocery shopping, I'll go to the gym, I'll go see Emily or whatever, a friend, get a glass of wine. But the nice thing, so I'm sure you've mentioned we used to live downtown. We now have tenants in that property and now we live in a neighborhood. And so where everything used to be walking distance, now we've got to drive a couple miles to get most of the places that we want to go to. What I love about FSD is I don't need to worry about navigation, where I'm going. And so now, instead of like constantly like looking down at my map, sitting in a certain position that doesn't hurt my hip so that I can like have my foot constantly on the pedal, I just kind of I have the luxury of actually knowing what the hell is going on around me because the navigation is set. So I'm focusing on probably the things I should be focusing on while I'm driving. Like, oh, there's a mom pushing a stroller, there's a dog, there's, this person's weaving in and out of their lane. I should probably be more aware when I'm driving past them. And hey, by the way, I want to pass them because I don't like the way that they're driving and I don't want to be a casualty in whatever is going on with them. So I think it gives me the luxury of focusing on the things that I want to focus on. And then also like just directions. Anywhere you have to go, like picking you up from the airport. We both travel a decent amount for work. Like it's just way less of a problem. And this just might be me. I tend to be an anxious thinker. I get very like obsessed with the directions. Like, oh, I have to turn in
Hmm.
1 mile, I have to turn in 3 miles or whatever. And it'll be all I'm thinking about. Like my mind is way more quiet and I can I notice when you don't have it on when you're driving. That's not an insult. I think you're a great driver, but I just in general just feel like it's I just
I'm
feel
more
safe.
aggressive.
You're
I'm more
more
aggressive about it.
yes. You look and you say, "Oh, Anna wants to be there by 4 p.m. and it's 3:50 something and I'm going to try to compensate." And I'm like, "Just don't. Just don't." You know what I mean? Like I'd rather it take there's no emotion in there. It's just doing what's right. It's just doing what's right and it's a safety blanket.
You think FSD safe?
Absolutely. And you know what? Like I love having FSD, but when I'm on the road, I'm not really so worried about me. Like, I'm worried about other drivers. Like, I don't trust humans. I do not trust them. Like, I see people putting on makeup in their mirror. I see people eating a
Yeah.
sandwich and on the phone, yelling at their kids. I wish everybody
Yeah.
like, if everyone had texting yeah, I didn't even say that's, like, the worst offender. If everybody had FSD, I would feel a lot safer. But, I mean, we got hit the other day in our car by another guy on the road, and we're safe. Our car had some damage, but, like, that, like, shakes you when somebody is driving like I don't know what he was going at least 40 and drives right into you, like that scares you. And you
Yeah.
become more aware that that could happen. Every time you get in your car, you're taking some risk. And to limit that risk, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to compete with AI. You're like, "Oh, you like I don't know."
Well, some people think that FSD is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, those people probably haven't used it.
So you think
Or
they're wrong or they haven't used it.
okay, well, I shouldn't say that somebody's subjectively wrong because I don't know what they're doing, but I would say in our area, like I've seen also we've watched people's videos, right? And they've had these
Hmm.
like major mess ups. I would say it's very good in our area in the like the routes that we tend to take, but also there's personal accountability there because at the end of the day, this thing's helping you, but like you're in charge. When I have FSD on, I'm not like watching YouTube videos. I'm paying
Hmm.
attention to the things that are important for my safety. Maybe not the directions, maybe not, how fast I'm going because it takes care of that for you now too. But I'm looking around and I'm noticing what everybody around me is doing because I have that luxury.
Yeah, but the cognitive load is less because to your point, you're not worried about the directions. When's the next turn? You're
Yeah,
just worried about like in the next foot. Are you making the right move in these feet? Not
your mind
what's
is
next
free
turn? Am I in
enough.
the right
Yeah.
lane? Yeah, you don't care about am I in the right lane? What's the next turn? Is this the exit? Did I miss it? Even if it missed it, you may not be aware. Who cares?
Who
It's
cares?
gonna reroute. Yeah,
Right. I mean, and a part of that might just be as we get older, but like when I get in the car, like really, I'm so focused on safe, and that part of it also might be getting hit by that guy. But like safety is the only thing on my mind. I'm like, I'm just aware because I don't, I mean, I happen to like my life. I don't want anything to happen to me. So I'm paying
yeah.
attention and I don't trust people.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also got to remember, yeah, that hit sucked, right? It was a very inconvenience into our life. Luckily, we didn't
Yeah.
have to pay for anything because
And we
it
were
wasn't
fine.
our fault or anything, and we were fine. But that was the whole reason. We had a paid off car, and we're huge Tesla investors. But
Yeah.
like you said before, we're very conscientious with our spending. but we had a couple of close calls. Again, not even our fault, other people, right?
Yeah.
We had several close calls, and it was one of those things where we decided, all right, it's time. Like it almost felt like the universe is telling us, go get a Tesla.
Well, we
Like,
got hit
don't.
that one time too in my old car
I
when we were
know.
driving to the
Yeah,
grocery store. I was like, and you know,
and I
yeah, you know what else
barely.
though? People lie.
Yeah.
Every time that we have been hit by somebody else, their nature has been to lie. And now,
Yep.
guess what? We got you on camera.
Yeah. Lie all you want. Yeah.
Lie. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. This one time we were living. We were just driving down the road, and this lady was leaving like Trader Joe's or something, coming out into the road. We're on the road going straight,
Yeah.
and she just comes and just T-bones us. And I had just enough time to kind of move out of the way to lessen the impact, but she still hit us. We get
Yeah.
out of the car, and she says, "Didn't you see me turning?" And I look at her, I'm like, "I have the right of way.
Yeah.
Like, you're coming out into a street from a
Turning
parking lot."
turning into traffic on a double yellow lined road where you should be looking. No, and thank God you were the one driving because even just hearing that story, I'm feeling my blood boil.
No.
But now we don't even need to get mad. Go ahead,
Yeah.
tell me what you think happened. I'll I'll show
I'll
you.
show you what happened.
I'll
Yeah,
show you.
exactly.
You know what? Before you tell me, why don't you go tell the cop? Get it
Yeah,
on
exactly.
record. Then I'll show you what happened.
So let's talk about 8 then. Because you right now you're talking about FSD,
Yeah.
that it's a good companion with you. Together you feel safer. But 8/8, August 8th, it's the robotaxi unveiling. We know what it is. Maybe first start like, what do you anticipate this meaning for Tesla?
The robotaxi is interesting. So, as much as I trust FSD, I wouldn't just let it take me to the grocery store without me in the front seat. Even though I rarely intervene, like I want to have the option to. And I almost feel like it's hard because not everybody has a Tesla, but I almost wish everybody could experience it behind the wheel before getting in, as like dipping your toe in. But hey, I mean, it's promising that they don't feel they need that they're ready to go. Just like how I mentioned the Cybertruck, every time I see one parked downtown, there's a cloud of people around it. I think the Robotaxi will be like that
Mm,
tenfold. Like people are gonna be like, "Oh
interesting.
my god, like what's this doing here? Oh, did you order this?" Like people are gonna download that app so quick. It's like the
You think
second it's
so?
available, I think just because they want to see it, just because of the novelty, like they'll do it and just Uber probably like half a mile down the road for the experience, I would think.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the experience, not because you think it's gonna look so cool.
Probably a little bit of both, but also like I could also see this like blowing up on social media, like people making TikToks about it or
Mhm.
Instagram reels being like my first whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't have to most luxury items you have to have a certain status of like wealth to have access to them, right? Like for if you want a Tesla, you have to be able to afford a Tesla. Or unless you're
Yeah.
maybe going to Hertz and you're, getting one for the weekend. But an Uber or a Robotaxi, if they do the same similar platform to Uber, that might just be $10. And you get to have this like really luxury experience. I think that it's gonna start off as a novelty, and then, of course, there's gonna be the inevitable amount of backlash where people are like, "Oh, you know, it ran this stop sign or whatever." Like, I think it's probably gonna blow up like that, but in reality, it I believe it's gonna catch on. Like, you know how much I hate getting into an Uber. You've heard me
Yeah.
complain about it. I have to travel for work and like I don't mind flying. I fly a decent amount for work and for just in general our travels, but like getting into someone's dirty car is never going to feel comfortable to me. Like, especially being alone as a woman, I don't like it. I never will like it. I'm never going to feel that safe. in the car with a stranger and like you're just at their mercy wherever they decide to take you. Like you never know exactly what you're getting into. Not that I'm not a people person. Like I like people, but I also like a lot of people have to worry about safety outside of being a people person. You know what I mean? Like to get into a
Yeah.
car and not have a person there, that just eliminates a threat, a discomfort. I would imagine that they'd be cleaner just because Tesla tends to do things better. Like it's not somebody's personal car that they're living their life in, maybe even living out of. Really, you don't know with these Uber cars that you're getting into, like that are really dirty. I know that I would probably feel more comfortable in there having your privacy.
Yeah, it's funny with a lot of, I guess, friends or colleagues or people just I interface on day-to-day basis with. When I talk about this concept of robo taxis, people push back on me on it, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, people aren't gonna feel safe and all this stuff," and it's like they forget the whole like they're so comfortable with Uber and Lyft, right?
Yeah.
But imagine a world before Uber and Lyft. If I were to tell you, yeah, some random stranger in some unmarked car
Yeah,
is gonna show up, pick you up, you've never met them, you don't know anything about them, and they're gonna take you to another place, you would have been like, "You are smoking some special type of
I
drugs.
know.
There's no freaking way I would do that."
And
And
maybe
yet
like
it's so normal now.
you might have not gotten the same talks about Uber and Lyft that I got as like an employee or a daughter, but
Never got any.
oh my God, the amount of times that people have been like, "Are you sure you feel safe? Are you?" Well, I think just in general, like, I don't want to, I love being a woman. I think it's fantastic. But the reality is that you're not as strong as a man, in that if someone wanted to do something, like, this is your opportunity, you're getting in their car. You're,
Yeah, well, it's you know what, Anna? It's 2024, and to be frank,
I'm not
most
going
men
there.
aren't as strong as you. Most men
Well,
aren't as
yeah,
strong
yeah,
as you.
I know. Well,
So,
not all ladies CrossFit.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm just saying, it's not a comfortable thing for a
Yeah,
woman to do, and I had a lot of talkings to from my parents, from coworkers, from bosses. When I used
yeah.
to leave Boston to come see you in Florida, and I would get Ubers to my car at odd hours of the night, because remember I used to
No, I
park at
remember.
my
We'd be on
office?
the phone.
Yeah, I'd
We'd
be
be
on
on
the
the
phone
phone.
with you through the whole car ride, and that level of fear, like, people are so scared of AI. AI can be programmed to be good. Just because maybe you're good, it doesn't mean all people are good.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
that's
more
why
afraid
Elon
of
started
people.
XAI.
I'm more afraid of people, really.
Yeah.
I don't think the AI wants to kidnap me.
Do you think do you think coming out of August 8th that we will have robo taxis like ready to go? Do you think what do you think they're going to announce? Do you think they're just going to show us the car? Do you think they're going to announce a platform? Do you think they're going to announce a city where you can actually start using this? Like what
We haven't gotten the latest update yet in FSD. So it's hard for me
no one has.
to
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's hard for me to like speak to this, the latest and greatest, because we haven't experienced it yet. But if I were to, my inkling is that it's just, hey, it's like a, they're pumping you up to be like, hey, we've designed this. Here's our rendering, maybe a prototype, and here's how it works, and here's when we're anticipating and like letting this out into the wild. I
Okay.
would say it's
So
probably like prototype rendering type of level. Like, hey, we're confident enough to make this, that this is going to work.
I'll tell you what I'm expecting. We're gonna see the actual Robo Taxi, no prototype. It's gonna be the actual thing. We're gonna see the whole application, how you're gonna call for it, how you're gonna schedule it, all that. One or more cities that's gonna start in, and we're gonna have an actual date on when you can go ahead and start calling your Robo Taxi, and it'll be either at the end of this year or first quarter of next year. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're very conservative. You're
I didn't
the
think that was
exact opposite of what I
conservative.
think.
I didn't think that was conservative.
Yeah, I know. But if you compare it to my prediction, it's extremely conservative. I'm convinced that there's gonna be real announcements.
There is the one thing that, do you remember when you were telling me about the two seats?
Mhm.
From what you shared with me, there's only 2 seats in the Robo Taxi,
We
potentially,
don't
from
know.
something
We
that
don't
might
know.
have may or may that's something that might have been leaked, and I was saying that's,
Well,
like,
yeah.
okay, that you just, eliminated an entire percentage of, the population because if I've got kids, I'll tell you one thing, I'm not separating cars with them. Absolutely not. Like, if we're traveling and
Mhm.
we've got kids with us, we're not separating. Like, maybe I guess if you had to, like, you could take one, I could take one, and we could break off, but, like, that's not the type of experience that you want as a family. I guess maybe if you're easing your way into something that's new and you're probably thinking like, oh, maybe someone with kids or a family is less likely to try this new
Mhm.
technology. It's probably an individual who's traveling for work and thinks it might be cool and is probably expensing this anyways. I mean, I could see all of that thought process, but I just think the two-seat thing is like it's very limiting in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, so that's very fair. That's very fair. In fact, I was talking about your point of view on that with Herbert and Brian from Futuraza, something like that. I can't
Futurama?
remember. Yeah, I can't remember his new channel name. We were talking about that recently, last week, and I'll tell you how I think this rollout's going to be. All right, this is my actual prediction. So I think on 8/8 we see what the actual robotaxi is going to look like. They will start manufacturing the two-seater robotaxi sometime midway through 2025 into the end of year 2025. So about 1 year from now, they're going to start actually manufacturing the robotaxi. In the meantime, after 8/8 until mid of next year, you have about a year of runway. Okay, in that time frame, they're going to pick X amount of cities where they're going to start robotaxi service. Tesla does not allow any, so every other car company, if you lease a vehicle at the end of the lease, you have the option to buy it.
Yeah,
Tesla's the only company that doesn't allow that.
yeah.
Why? Well,
Well,
because one day that's going to be assets for your robotaxi. So my prediction is that between 8/8 until robotaxis that we're going to see on 8/8 start to actually be produced, you're going to use those leased vehicles to deploy your robotaxi network. At first, that's going to have someone behind the wheel as a safety driver until they can prove out the efficacy and safety of it. And that's going to go from city to city and it's slowly going to expand out quickly, very quickly. As they start to prove out the efficacy of it, so maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 8 months, guess what's going to be coming online? The robotaxis. And that's going to start to fill in, right? 90% of all rides, whether it's Uber, taxi, you in your car, tend to be one or two people. 90%. So
90%,
that's
huh. It's
that's
probably
why they're
mostly
going to do
couples going out on date night.
couples or individual people going to work.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah. Going to a
so
meeting, whatever.
exactly. So that's why they're going to focus on a two-seater. Now, as you know, we bought FSD outright because we think it's going
Why
to be a
not?
future business for us. Well,
Mhm.
it's going to be future business for us, right?
It's also
So people
cheaper
like
long term,
true,
if
but
you
people like
believe.
us, if you believe, correct. But people like us, other people that have Teslas and have FSD who they bought it, they will be able to put their vehicles into the robotaxi network to make money off of it. So, to your point, if you're a family, you want to have one vehicle, maybe you order a Model X that has 6 seats available. Maybe you order a Model Y that has 4 seats available,
Right,
right? So you don't need to, Tesla doesn't need to make those vehicles
right.
because guess what? They're already out there. They already exist. You know what doesn't exist? A even cheaper version, which is 2 seats, which is even more cost effective. If you order a 4 seater, guess what? That's going to be a little more expensive per mile than a 2 seater.
Well, I guess we don't know yet what the body so I was kind of in my head imagining this being a two-seater in the body of a Model 3. Like, I wasn't imagining an entire new vehicle for this two-seater. I just was kind of imagining you're fitting out one of their existing shells, removing seats, and putting you know what I mean?
So Tesla put out a kind of a advertisement for the shareholder meeting to get people to vote for for Elon's comp package and to reincorporate Tesla in Texas. So they put out this like commercial, but they're like some Easter eggs, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
So let me share my screen here with you. This right here was from the Walter Isaacson biography, the Elon Musk book that we have, right?
Yeah.
So this was in there as like a, kind of concept car, right? Two
Okay.
seater. In the commercial video that they made to get people to vote, they very quickly put this in there. And this picture is actually bigger. I don't know if they have it here. Yeah, I don't see it, but it's Franz and this guy here whose hand you see, and
Mhm.
they're looking over some renderings here. Uh, for we've never seen this vehicle before. This is a complete
Yeah.
redesign. And you've heard me listening to a couple of Franz's interviews where he was asked, like, "What's your favorite vehicle to have designed or whatever?" And he says, "It's the one that I can't talk about yet."
Ah, ha,
And so
ha.
I anticipate it's this. But you can see it has two seats, it's got an armrest that comes down, it's got a screen. So it's very minimal. But this is kind of the idea of what we're thinking it might look like, something like this. And the reason the doors go up is so that you don't have to worry about a human forgetting to close the door properly, right? So it just
Yeah.
opens on its own. It's also a better experience.
Pretty smart.
But yeah, so this is kind of what we're expecting is something similar to this.
So, okay, okay. I have like unique opinions on this, just because my
Preach.
renderings have been leaked prior to wanting to share them with people.
So you sympathize
Yes.
or with what Franz might be feeling with all this.
Okay, unless they're marketing geniuses and they've purposefully linked things that they are prepared to share with the masses, like, and that's totally a possibility. It's a total possibility. But I have had, um, so I'm an architect, interior designer, and I design museums, I design hotels, all sorts of buildings, and I have had renderings leaked
Stadiums.
of stadiums, of museums, and they have been leaked and put out on websites of, oh, this museum's coming, here's these renderings. And they've been totally preliminary. And then you get value engineered, or the city tells you that you can't build that high, or whatever. And the entire design changes. And I'm like, it's frustrating as a designer to have your stuff leaked, and then I would say whatever has been leaked previously to something being built, in my experience for what I do, which I don't work for Tesla, I'm, I don't necessarily have marketing geniuses behind me, but I do some high profile projects. And whatever's been leaked has never been what's been built or
Mm,
anywhere within the realm of what's been built, because you have to start somewhere. And when you're working with people, they need visual aid. And so you make preliminary renderings that really mean nothing. Like, maybe there's one good idea in there. Maybe their one idea that they were trying to express is the two seats. But one thing that I noticed, like in those renderings, and whoever made those renderings is probably cringing that I noticed this, but their tires were like just smooth plates. And
oh,
I'm looking at that and I'm like, maybe that's not their intent, but someone might look at that and be like, or maybe it is their intent. But like, look at that.
yeah, so yeah,
People are
so
going
let
to
me
read into all these details and think that every single one is real, even though it's preliminary. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but let me let's take a step back real quick. So
Yeah.
this wasn't leaked. This was in the commercial Tesla made.
Okay. So they chose to share this.
Yes, it was very quick clips going really, really fast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously us Tesla community, we slowed it down
They
and we
know
were
you
able to
can
capture
pause.
this.
Yeah. They know
Yes.
that you can
So
pause.
yeah, so okay, maybe this was leaked, but this was leaked intentionally by Tesla.
Yep. Okay. So marketing
All
genius.
right.
What's circled?
We don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Somebody
Okay.
circled this. It's just a thing of interest, I imagine.
Okay.
Um, this seems to be a rendering of the upcoming Robo Taxi two-seater option. I wonder what this black box above the seat is for.
Speculation. Okay.
Okay, now this right here, this is coming from the Walter Isaacson book, which actually was this image.
Yeah.
And again, this was um actually that's not even it. That's a little bit better. There's like a cardboard version of this. Let me see. I thought I had it here somewhere. Oh, here. This is Franz. I don't know if you can see that. This is Franz in front of this, right? So this is them actually putting it together. So this is where when you see the wheels like that, that's where it's coming from. It's
Mhm.
them trying they're just putting a body over this. You can see suitcases back here, 2 seats, right? This looks very
Yeah.
similar to the dash. But so this is kind of his concept. And again, if you zoom in even closer here, let's see if this opens up. No. Okay. But you can see over here how it looks, right?
Yeah.
And it's not unusual for Tesla to have these like caps over the tires to make it more aerodynamic so you get more miles out of
Really?
it.
Okay. That's something I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known. I mean, I look at that and I think, "Oh, it's a placeholder." It's a mass to show you that that is negative space that you cannot occupy within the void of the vehicle.
Yeah,
That's what I
you
see.
could be right. You could 100%
I
be
could
right.
also be wrong because I'm not a
Yeah.
vehicle designer. But
But the concept of 2 seats, the concept of kind of the shape, right, to be a more I mean, you literally have Franz in front of this. Like this isn't this was in the Walter Isaacson book.
well, look
No,
at it,
I
Nick.
don't
It's
know.
it's made out of cardboard. It's totally like I'm looking at this. This is a mock-up, a preliminary mock-up before you do the full mock-up. And
Yes,
I'm looking at
100%.
that and I'm like, this is such early stage. They're totally saying this is a mass of a space that cannot be occupied by anything of the car. This is like what is occupied
Yes.
by the tire,
Yep.
not
I
this
I
is what
I
the tire
I
is
don't
gonna look
disagree.
like. Yeah. But then look at
But
this one,
so
2 to the left, Tesla Robotaxi trillions from China. They've got I mean, which they might be doing that. But all this to say that I think when people see these preliminary renderings, they tend to believe everything is certain, and I think there's
oh,
a lot of placeholders.
well, so real quick. Okay, so take a look at this one. This was all in that commercial that they released was all 3 of these, okay? So this version of the cardboard with these seats and this person here, this was
Yeah.
all in that commercial. This is what we saw a second ago over here with the seats. And then this was they released this too in that commercial. So again, they're teasing us, right?
Yeah.
Intentionally. These little Easter eggs. But this kind of shows you kind of the shape, which kind of gives more credence to something that's a little more like this.
Yeah. Well, here's an example of jumping to conclusions, like what you just showed me, and
Hmm.
I know better. The one image you were just on, I don't know where it was, but I know better.
Uh,
But I was looking at the tufting of that seating, and I'm like, oh, it's tufted like an Eames chair. How luxury! Like a mat,
mm,
like the seats are so comfortable right now, but to have the design intent of tufting it like an Eames chair just brings another level of luxury. But here's the thing, everything around it is cardboard, so it's probably just a placeholder. But here I am jumping to conclusions when I know better, and most people don't. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I
you're talking
just
about this,
yes, and I'm like,
like
that's
an
just
Ames
not
chair.
even
Yeah.
yeah. But I just keep reminding myself like take it all as a grain of salt because it's so preliminary. Like they're showing the possibilities of what could be, not what is going to be.
Yeah, but you know what's exciting? It was
But
like the most exciting thing. We're like 60 days away from seeing what this actually is.
I was gonna ask how many days until 8/8? Is it 60 days?
Let me see.
And
Let's Google this.
can we also look up like why is that such a lucky day?
67 days until then.
Okay. What makes it it'd be really funny if it was 69 days. What makes it so
Oh,
lucky?
so 8 is a lucky number in Chinese culture,
Yeah.
because its pronunciation I don't know if it's this how you say it, but it's like ba, which
Okay.
sounds similar to the word fa,
Okay.
F-A, which means to make fortune. So the number 8 is associated with wealth and prosperity and success.
That's what makes it
And
lucky is that it sort of sounds like another word.
we would spell it ba, B-A, but I think the way you say it is fa. in Chinese, in
Oh, I
Mandarin,
see, I see.
and that means fortune in Chinese.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And so it's a number that means wealth, prosperity, whatever. But they specifically chose 88. And right now, FSD is on the precipice of being approved and launched in China, which is a big deal. Right now, it's only available in United States and Canada.
I mean, I know
And
Tesla says they don't do marketing, but that's marketing right there. That is
well,
that
they
is
don't have a
marketing.
marketing team. They don't have an advertisement team. But Elon is the
That is
marketer.
intention.
Yes.
I've been on like some just because I think you and I look at real estate so frequently. I've somehow been on this Instagram reel niche and I've seen this thing with realtors and it's like purposely sending my client an update at 11:11 so they think it's a sign.
Oh my God, shut up.
And
Really?
literally, and it's so funny, but that is exactly what they're doing.
It could be. But, well,
It's
it could also be another Easter egg, though, to tell us that they're going to first build these robotaxis in China, maybe.
yeah,
Like, we don't know. We don't know anything yet, but
we
we
don't.
know that China has been the fastest to adopt electric vehicles. We know that China has been friendlier to Tesla than the United States has, which is crazy. It's insane that we are not just supporting the every other country in the world wants Elon and Tesla to come in there. We, however, are saying sit here and say, no, it's okay. We don't like him. His politics. He says this. This is controversial. He's weird. It's like the Republicans are like, yeah, EVs. I don't know. We want our gas and oil, and we want our big trucks. And the Democrats are saying, oh, well, he's about freedom of speech, and he's a far right winger, and he's converted,
And they
and
hate
he's
billionaires. Why,
yeah, and they
yeah.
hate billionaire. Yeah. So it's like he has like everybody hating him, yet he's arguably him and this company should arguably be the ones that the whole country is rallying behind because he's the Einstein, the Edison,
Really?
the um for oh, what's the word I'm looking for? The Da Vinci of our era. Like,
Right.
not even close. Like, it's not even close. It's like you can say, "Oh, okay, he did one great thing." No, he invented the concept of pain over the internet. That was him. He invented the idea of maps on the internet. That was him. Him and his brother Kimball invented the first maps on the internet.
Yeah.
He invented the idea of a company, not a country, doing rockets. Still, not another company, let alone country, can re-land rockets. It's only Tesla. He's doing Starlink now to give the whole world cheap internet. He took an entire industry of automotive away from fossil fuels towards electric vehicles. Now he's doing this with autonomy. He's got a brain chip inside of the first uh, I guess test subject candidate, whatever, who is a quadriplegic, and now this guy can play chess online. Right, that was a huge breakthrough. He's playing chess online. He's doing games. He's doing more activities on his own. He's got boring tunnels under Vegas now, connecting all of Vegas. Like, this guy has done it on so many different playing fields, from the internet to space to Earth to against fossil fuels. Like, there's a reason people want to hate him,
Yeah.
and I get it. And now he's doing it in AI. He's doing it with Twitter. He's reinventing Twitter, what it means to be a social media. He's taking it on YouTube. Like, it's just insane. He is the Edison. He is the Da Vinci of our era. Yet our country, for some reason, does not want to rally behind him. Imagine if we all rallied behind this
Oh,
person,
yeah.
like where
No,
we would
I
be as a
think it's
country.
like I actually think it's really gross the way that like I would if I could, I would protect him at all costs. And this is
Yeah.
part of why I say like when you were like why have you been so reluctant to come on your YouTube channel? And when I say because I don't want to be that accessible, like to be accessible to others, I feel like is a sacrifice of self. Like it's something that you are doing that you don't really have to do. Like it's really a gift to share yourself with others and to allow like what comes with it, people are going to have opinions about you and really like who gives a shit? But when it's blown out of when you're Elon Musk and it's blown out of proportion and there's so much false narrative going about who you are when really you're just like a guy who's following in my opinion, he seems to be pretty in tune with the universe and he has goals of greater good and he's just following the signs that the universe is giving him and following his curiosity and his passion and it's for the greater good of humanity and to like be like well, he's a billionaire, so I hate him because I feel inflation. Like, that is so just gross to me. And part of the reason why it's like you shouldn't, and it historically, not everybody is accessible by everybody. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you, and no matter what you say, they are going to find the one fault in the beautiful sentence that you've made or the beautiful point that you've made. They will find your one use of like poor grammar and blow that up instead of the message of what you're saying and just convolute everything that you stand for. And I think it's gross. He deserves better. Um, and you
Yeah.
know, we're very lucky. We're all lucky that he's here and that he's fighting the good fight.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that. And, I've been wanting to come on because, I get access to you and your unique perspective. And you just look at the world in a whole different lens than I do. And I think it's beautiful. And, it's very valid what you just said there. It's definitely something to put yourself out there and to be criticized. And, you're somebody that really inspires me because I see you constantly breaking down barriers and walls and just, climbing over challenge after challenge. And, we're very different people. We grew up different ways. And it's just inspiring to see somebody, constantly evolving. I would say most people who, are past, 20 years old, you don't tend to see them conquering challenge after challenge after challenge and making themselves better. And even, I know for many people, like hopping on here with me may not seem like a big deal, but it is. It is. You getting on camera and speaking and all this, like it's like that's nothing to like just look down on, or not even look down on, but to not realize like how hard it is. It is hard. It's especially for someone who doesn't do it every day. Like at this point, it's easy for me. It's much harder for you because you don't do this every day out there, putting yourself out there for critics, and on that same, topic of critics, there's a segment of a speech from uh, what's his name? Theodore Roosevelt that he said, and I'd just like to share it with you because it's Theodore Roosevelt said, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or whether the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there's no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm and great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails with daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Like that's exactly what you were saying, you
Absolutely.
know. And yeah,
Absolutely.
with that said, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on here with me. I'm happy that the world after 3 4 years gets to be introduced to you. I hope they find you as inspiring as I do every day. And yeah, thank you again. I appreciate it. I can't wait to maybe have you on again. Maybe next time we do this, we can have a couple session with Farzad and Cindy.
Now that I would entertain because I really like her. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this one goes.
Fair enough. All right. I love you.
I
Thank you,
love
everybody, for
you.
tuning in and meeting my special guest. So I'll talk to you all later. I love you. Peace.